introduce themselves.
How y'all doing? My name is Kyle Hobson. I'm a sophomore, political science major, Spanish minor from Queens, New York.
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Drayshawn Spearman. I'm a sophomore sociology major from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
And we're currently doing the Change Agent podcast. The point of this podcast particularly is to really highlight student stories as well as pretty much their journey to and through college. And kind of get to, some of the unheard, life experiences of some very influential and important youth that are making a difference in today. That a lot of people don't sometimes get to hear their story in different ways. So I'll start out by, asking both Kyle and Dre, you gave your name, your major. I'll ask a simple question like, why Morehouse?
So I actually got an interesting story when it comes to why Morehouse. I visited Morehouse my junior year of high school. My track coach, a graduate of FAMU by the name of Reynolds Hawkins, he had brought me down on a college tour. We did it every year. And I was walking through the campuses. I think that year we actually did go to FAMU. We went to FAM, we went to A&T. We ended up going to Morehouse, Spelman, and Clark. And I stepped on the campus, and I was like, whoa. I just felt something as soon as I stepped on the campus. So where I come from, you don't really see a lot of black men in suits. So I ended up seeing a student just walking through Brown Street, and he had a suit on, full suit on, 3-piece suit. I remember it was brown. And I legit stopped him. I said, yo, why you got a suit on? And dude said, I'm just going to class. And that, changed my perspective on everything. I was like, this dude is really putting on a suit to go to class? I got back home and got 3 new suits. Straight like that. So my senior year comes time to, pick a college. I ended up getting accepted into pretty much all of my colleges. And my 3 choices dumbed down to St. John's University in Queens, Morehouse College, and Harvard University. So every time I tell the story, people are like, why not Harvard? What's good with you, bro? So no little thing about me, I ran track in high school. So one of my big things was I need a school with a decent track team. St. John's actually has a decent men's track team. But as well as that, my thing with St. John's, I actually cut St. John's off early. They actually gave me the most money. But I did not want to be close to home. My thing was I cannot see everybody I just graduated high school with. It's going to be like a 13th grade. Mm-hmm. So I said, nah, that's a dub. I can't do it. So I went and I'm looking into Harvard and I'm asking this representative from Harvard. I'm like, what's the percentage of African Americans y'all have here? Because I'm not dumb. The dude's like, oh, we got 40% African Americans, this and that, third. But then they scout, they look out for things like that to fit a quota. Yeah. I ended up meeting a student from Harvard, and I'm speaking to him, and I asked him honestly, I said, yo, what do y'all do on campus for fun? He said, what you mean? I said, what do y'all do on campus? Where are the parties? What's the social life and stuff like that? And the dude said, if we're not studying, we're probably not doing anything. There is a bar in our library, though. I was like, a bar in the library? Yeah, it's wild. So then in doing my research, Harvard, no. So in doing my research, I realized that Harvard actually has one of the highest suicide rates for African American students. Due to stress.
Yeah, you don't advertise that.
Yeah, due to, the constant battle with trying to meet the status quo. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't do it. I could not fade. I said, I don't care what Harvard has to offer me. Maybe I knew myself. I was too immature to go into something like that because I would have went in and I would have made myself go mad. I ended up choosing Morehouse, and that was that. I told my mom. I said, "Ma, this is where I want to go," and she made it happen.
Okay, so there's a couple things you said I picked up on, whether it be in certain spaces, being one of the only black bodies, or being away from home, or being a high school athlete or a promising high school athlete and trying to find a place that collegiately that fits you in all realms, and also you want to play ball, you want to run track, want to play ball, do athletics, but one of the things among that as well, I took from trying to get away from home, as well as develop my own manhood. So that's kind of like what I took from when I was looking at colleges and schools. And I didn't apply to anywhere in the state, like, or, in the city. Cause I'm like, the closest place I applied to was like Mississippi. Like, and that was really on something like, I figured if I was going to be a man growing to, my manhood, I need to be in a position to where it's, I can't just run back home, or, I don't have the ills of my community, or in the area that I'm trying to get away from still play.
That was one of my biggest things. It was like I didn't want the opportunity to where anytime I felt homesick, I needed to come home. And
do laundry.
Yeah, like I couldn't do that. So I was happy that I ended up coming to a space where it was like I legit didn't know anybody. The closest people I knew were in Alabama. That's my godparents.
Right.
And it was like, even then, I said 2-hour ride.
Yeah.
If I was homesick, I'd had to deal with it. If I was broke and I couldn't get in contact with somebody, I had to make some shake. So that was my thing. It's not easy. It definitely wasn't easy. And I still deal with it sometimes, just being so far away from home. Like, you see people and they can just ride back home and then come back. Or people who got it like that every other weekend, they can fly back home. I can't do that. But that's forced me to value time that I do have at home. But it's also made me realize that a lot of things you got to do on your own. And then when you do it on your own, you'll appreciate it a lot more.
So Dre, we about to, try to tie you into when you.
I want to know why Dre chose more.
Yeah, but I say when you talk about, we talked about a lot of factors just now, but he mentioned one of the things about you being from Fayetteville. You close but not really close. You know what I'm saying? I know a little bit of your story, like pre-existing college, and how you already was holding things down in your own right, and how you was already developing like your own manhood, and even like your Morehouse journey. So can you speak a little bit to that? Can you speak a little bit to he spoke a little bit about like freshman, sophomore year, even like, I know you got the same class, so like dealing with being homesick, or, missing a girl maybe, or missing, family, or missing, that weird transition period, and even how you even got Morehouse on your radar.
All right, so my history with Morehouse is actually pretty unique. So I tell the story a lot. Throughout my high school, I probably visited over like 40 institutions, both PWI and HBCU collectively. And Morehouse just happened to be like the second. So the first campus that I was granted the opportunity to like stay on campus and like do some things with, it was a camp that I participated in at North Carolina A&T. Stayed on campus for like a week, and then like the following week, we came down with the same group. And I visited Morehouse. They took the young ladies to Spelman. And throughout that time while I was here, much similar to like what Cal just said, like coming onto this campus, there was an atmosphere that I just couldn't escape, and that I just could not find myself not wanting to be a part of. You know what I'm saying? Coming from a community, you know what I'm saying, where like very similar to what Cal was saying, it's actually crazy. Like where like it's not cool to see a leader in a black male role. You feel what I'm saying? Like it's not cool. Like literally the guys who had it and who were looked up to were the dope boys. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the only people we saw that who had success or money. You know what I'm saying? If you will. So just coming into a space where like being a successful black man was okay. You know what I'm saying? And I always knew that's something that I wanted for myself, but I was always kind of like the outcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, me and my boys, we might have went out and did some crazy stuff, but at the end of the day, I was the one getting my work done. I was the one who was like, you know what I'm saying, fulfilling roles and doing different things with my time. You feel me? So for me to come into a space where, that was the norm, you know what I'm saying? I felt that it would hold me to a higher standard and force me to, you know what I'm saying, do something greater than what has been seen of me. So throughout my high school years, like I did some phenomenal things within my community, even as small as like serving as SGA president, and all the way going to like being an honorary member of the Fayetteville Police Department, or being able to win the 2017 Disney Dreamer of the Year. Like that's wild.
He was dropping bombs.
You can't just skip over. I'm an honorary member of the police department. This is in high school, so like you can't just like, especially like in today's climate in the community, whether it be it being in the South or North Carolina, or you being a young black, being an honorary member of the police department. Like just if you can, real quick, just talk about that.
So it's actually really crazy. So like I said, everything kind of led to another, if you will. So what basically happened was in my high school, I served as SGA president my senior year and vice president my junior year. Within those 2 years, we developed a program where, the different high schools within the city of Fayetteville would partner with the police department and do these talks like once a month, with like the student leaders and student ambassadors of the school. Throughout that, my leadership, throughout my high school specifically kind of stood out to the police department. My relationship with them became very, very close, very, very soon, very, very quick. So with that being said, shortly after, fast forward, like my senior year, I ended up, coming out that I was accepted into the Disney Dreamers Academy. And then when I left and came back, that's when I was granted the opportunity to, be recognized by the police department and named an honorary member. What that has looked like for me, this past summer, I actually had the opportunity to go back and work with the city of Fayetteville as an intern with my city, working very closely with both the police department and the mayor, like City Hall. So really, that, award and that recognition that I received from, the police department as an honorary member has really just allowed me to be like the face of the youth in my city. Which is really a great honor because, like you said, police brutality is a real thing. And fortunately, my city doesn't necessarily have as many issues with that as others because of these types of programs that the police department takes the time out of their day to put together. And I think it's great. I feel like, as, especially young minorities who are sometimes, silenced, we don't often get to, express our voice and really get to be like active as sometimes we want to be. And so for us to be granted those types of opportunities within my city, that just made me love my city and go even harder. So sometimes, some things that Kyle said actually kind of rung bells with me because, with me being so connected back home, it's so easy for me to be like, I can just go back home and just build up what I'm trying to do, which is actually a phase that I've, recently, found myself in. And I'm currently trying to find my way back out of that phase and change my whole mindset of, maybe Morehouse is the place. So it's just really, really become difficult. But I say all this to say my matriculation at Morehouse has been very, very unique and different from what I expected it to be. So it's just like
you expect being at Morehouse to have everybody to have the same type of matriculation. So, the first question you ask somebody as a freshman, yo, how was Morehouse when you came in as this and this, that, and the third? And it's never the same. Never gonna be the same. It's never the same.
I think one of the questions that frequently get, asked while we're here is like, one, like, what is my purpose? What do I love to do? They always say, what would you do if someone didn't have to pay you? Or even when you get to that point where you find out what you love to do, it's like, I'm going to this stage right now where it's like, profit versus prophecy, or what is your profit versus purpose? What is your dream? What is your goal? What should you be doing compared to, could you go over here and make 80 grand? Could you go over here and do this and that and the third? Like, how do you fit in that weird place of prospering and putting your best foot forward for you, as well as doing it with the community, where sometimes they do not always intersect. And either one of you guys can kind of tell me how that comes through. But I know for a fact for myself, that's one of the things where and this question for both of y'all, y'all can play off each other, but it's one of them questions that I realized that I'm talking to my mentors, who graduated Morehouse in the 90s and 2000s and stuff like that. They're still trying to figure it out, man. I'm still trying to figure out how I work my 9 to 5 and still do stuff on the weekends, or still do stuff for my kids and do stuff for the kids in the community, and how I can still, help in different causes or help with different organizations in a way that doesn't restrict and handicap what I got to do, my responsibilities. So, I know y'all guys are doing different things in the community or different things on campus. So how do you take different strides to excel in both areas?
So, one of the things that I've always prided myself on is, never forgetting the areas that have put you in the position that you are in. So, like I said, I was born and raised in Queens. I went up to school in Long Island, out in Amityville, and Amityville did a lot for me that people could never understand. So you'll see me on breaks when I go back home. If I go back home, I make it known that one day I go back to my high school. And legit, I go back to my high school just to talk. And sometimes I switch it up. Sometimes I'll show up in regular clothes and people be like, oh, you know, that's Kyle. And I show up in a 3-piece suit and they're like, whoa, it's Kyle.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's always that. But to go back to your point of trying to find your that mix between purpose and profit. So that was one of my biggest issues. I'm a very artistic person. So you could think of anything in the arts. I've either tried to do it, have done it, or want to do it. Whether it be poetry, whether it be storytelling, acting, modeling, musicianship, anything in the arts, I've probably done it. Besides, so that's something that's been passionate with me my whole life. And that's why I kind of looked at Dre Sean when you said that, because I know that's something that plays a big role in both of our beings. So the way that when it came up to me getting to junior year in high school, I was like, how am I going to make money off of this? Obviously, everybody wants to be a rapper, singer, producer, something like that. So I told my music teacher one day, I want to be a producer. I'm going to go to school for music engineering. He told me straight to my face that was the stupidest thing you could ever do. He was a white man. He was actually in the industry at one point. He said it's the stupidest thing you could ever do. You are not going to make it as a producer.
It's funny how people always say that. They be saying it to certain people. It's like,
that actually killed my whole dreams of wanting to be a producer.
Okay.
So I actually, for a while, forgot about my art. Stopped writing, stopped doing my instrumentship. If it wasn't in music class, you didn't see me pick up an instrument. Until I spoke to my grandmother. And my grandmother, she was big. She was big on music. She plays the organ. She used to sing. She ended up getting older and having surgery or whatever. So she couldn't do it. But I was speaking to her about Morehouse and about college. And she was like, I went in as a psychology major, music minor. I said, why did you go in as music minor? She was like, because I love the music so much I cannot let it go. So I said in my mind, what can I do that I can still have my love and make money off of it? So I ended up doing some research. And that's all it is. People just got to look for stuff.
Yeah.
So I said, I first broke down, what do I want to, what are things that I like?
Right.
I realized two things that I really loved was the arts and law.
First.
If I look through my family line, there's a lot of people within law that work within, whether they're cops, judges, attorneys, whatever. I had so many connections within law, and I loved it. I was just genuinely interested, but I loved music. I loved the industry. I loved the arts industry. So essentially, in doing my research, I was like, why am I trying to be in this industry instead of owning the industry?
Bring your own way.
So this goes into pretty much my plan and how I decide I'm going to give back with my craft to my community. Essentially what I want to do is after Morehouse, I want to graduate, go to law school, practice contractual law. So these are the people that write the contracts for entertainers, singers, actors, all of this stuff. I'm only going to do that for about 10 to 12 years. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to learn that craft. After learning that craft, I want to open my own industry. And I compare it to the Empire. Because if you think of Empire, you got models in there, singers, writers. Everything is self-sufficient. And that's pretty much what I want it to be. I want it to be, I'm talking about the show Empire. So it's legit just like that.
Nah, yeah, I ain't seen it since
Lucius
was in jail and Cookie was trying, and Jamal started wilding, and then
it took me to really break down that show and be like Lucius Lyon was a smart dude.
Yeah.
He had all the elements of the entertainment field under one roof, so he never had to reach out.
He never had the out resource.
Yeah, he was his own source.
Yeah.
The only thing he needed was an attorney who was in the show risky, but that was his down dog. But I don't even need to trust nobody like that because I could do it myself. So I want to have that and have all different art forms. And essentially what I'm going to do is look into HBCUs because the arts is a dying art form. Well, the arts is a dying form within all schools, public, private, college, whatever. So I want to take from HBCUs and take those top 10% in the drama department or the top 10% in the band and have them be chairs of the particular departments in which my label will have. So I won't have to do it all by myself, but it's still giving back to the Black community. Mm-hmm. Essentially, what I want to do is I want to come back to my home in New York and give. Well, I first want to open up this thing where pretty much if you hold a 3.0 GPA and have at least 20 hours of community service a month, you can hone in, learn, practice, and perfect your art form for free. You don't need an instrument because the instruments will be there for you. You'll have professional writers there to help you if you want to do your poetry. If you want to do headshots and you want to get into the modeling agencies, we have people that will take your photos there. We'll have students that will take your photos there because photography is an art form.
Right.
So it's building in that art form. As well as that, when you become a senior in high school, if you commit to an HBCU, I'm looking to give a scholarship. So it encourages the practice of art within HBCUs, which would then grow the number of students in HBCUs who still are within the art fields, which would then grow in the entertainment business the amount of African Americans that we see behind the scenes, rather than just the rappers, the singers, the dancers.
You got trademark this, man. What's this? April 16th, Tuesday. Yeah, you got this. It's the intellectual property, man. You can't get nobody run up on it.
So look, we got a camera right here to let people know this is what I want. Yeah. So, but this is
12 years. Like, set it right here, right?
It took me a while. It took me a while to really break it down and find out what I wanted to do. But I realized that I cared too much about my community. I cared too much about the arts, and I cared too much about African Americans for me not to combine them all in the right way, so that no longer will African American artists, be robbed of their crafts. Because you think about it. Think of if, what's his name? Chuck Berry. If Chuck Berry would have just had the right lawyer to write his contract, Elvis would have never stole the songs. Think about if TLC, when they first came out, if they had the right attorney who would have wrote their contract, so all the money they got, they would have made bank. They would have made bank.
Still be making royalties.
They would still be making royalties
to this day.
And that's why, God rest his soul, I peep so deep into the mind of Nipsey Hussle. Because that man, though it took him a while, he made sure that everything was his. Yeah. And like I said, God rest his soul, that in his death, he's making his enterprise is making so much money, it's all going to his family. I don't ever want black people to have to struggle for something that's theirs. So that's my spiel. That's how I'm looking to use my craft to get back to my community. Now we got Mr. DJ Rico Belli, who's already giving back to. He playing at basketball games and tournaments at famous parks and stuff.
So Rico did an event for me. For an event with some kids. What was it? Public school kids.
It was like a community adventure for like public school kids throughout the city of Atlanta.
Yeah. It literally was just like call or text a day before, maybe a couple days. It was not
definitely like immediately almost.
Yeah, it was not that much warning or time in the middle. And that's why it's very important to have a very trustworthy group and network of, friends, true, genuine friends. But then, when your friends have talents and when you're a blessing to people and they are able to be a blessing not only to you, but others as well, it's kind of like the gift that keep on giving. And I want Rico to also touch on the same points and questions. But, I just want to highlight what you said, kind of, that whole thing about, the dying arts, or find out what you like or what you love. And pursuing that and kind of mapping that out, like, the whole idea with a podcast type thing is something like, I knew I was interested in radio. I knew I was interested in media. I did a lot of media in high school. I did NPR my first time. I was a senior in high school, and it went so well that they invited me back to do another segment NPR. And I never forget my mentor, who's a comms director. He was a comms director at the White House at the time, and he was like, "Yo, I'm so nervous." And he was like, he looked at me like, "Oh man, he's from New York too." He's like, "What's up with you? Why you you just look so calm, cool? Like I'm over here sweating." I said, "It's kind of not that right, just some microphones, just a conversation with some people, microphone and just have genuine conversations." And I knew back then that was something I was interested in doing. And when I came to Morehouse, before I went to Morehouse, I was looking at schools like Hampton, possibly. I was talking to the dean of their communications department, as well as one of the guys over at Howard in communications. And so I my whole time I knew that's what I was going to do. Communication. And then, when I finally get, I prayed a long time ago about Morehouse, say, Morehouse for me, I'll go there. And I had to go through 2 summer school programs to get into Morehouse. But I never forget who, another mentor of mine, she told me, she said, you need to look at Morehouse and their majors because I know what you're doing. I know what you love to do. I know what you've been doing. You need to know what they offer. And, man, when I looked at the curriculum and I looked at the, every major and stuff like that, as they did not offer communication. So I had to take about 2 days and really read and look and see what I would want to study and spend my next 4 years and, end up being sociology. And I'm still grateful for that because it's giving me the tools to expand the way I think and how I use the knowledge that I'm going to, run into. So, but still, like, something like this is still like kind of been like a passion in a way. So like when I went to California with MBK and we're talking about we did something like this, like a simulation of this, and just threw like 30 random people in a room and just said like, yo, just talk. We did icebreakers and stuff like that, and we had like, we literally did like 5-10 minute icebreakers, and then they put random people in on the mic, and they just had flip-phone like conversations. It was dope. It was cool. It was spiritually, intellectually enlightening. You put an older woman and a young black boy, and then you put people from different religions and races and ethnicities, and put them all together, just have a conversation, and then taught them the ways how they can go back in their own community and do that. I just thought it was really empowering, and I'm like, well, if I keep seeing the signs reoccurring and stuff like that, and also like for Dr. Welch, I did a similar assignment where. I got a chance to talk to my dad and my grandfather, ask them just their stories. It was an assignment for the family, and the question was, well, I created my own question, but I told them that they came from the school, whatever. But I had to ask people about my family that I knew, basically nothing about, and I chose my dad, my maternal grandfather, and I learned so much about their stories. So I learned so much about my family, our family. How the two from different sides came together at some point. The history of my family, some stuff that I know other people in my family don't even know. And I realized that the question I was asking, no one ever asked them before. No one even cared to ask them. They never had the platform to have this conversation. And so, and that's why I'm like, it's very important that, if something is revealing itself several times, that you need to find a way to go through with that. And, you guys are the first, that, a passionate dream of mine to kind of like see it come to fruition. So like when you talk about like your passion and like yours be DJing and what you can do and inspire that, but also the work that you do amongst that, because you do a lot of different things. And when same thing, Kyle, like if you have so many gifts, so many talents, so many, like you got law, you got music, and other avenues of art. You got education, and you got a little phase of law too, and you also got the DJ and music and everything you do. How do you combine all of that time-wise, energy and passion-wise? Because you're gonna want to be everywhere every time, and then also like just navigating how you evolve, and all your skills and all your talents.
You gotta learn to say no.
That's a great question, though. 2 things that you brought out that were very important, and I think it's extremely important that we find the correlation between both, and that's passion and purpose, right? Because clearly I'm passionate about DJing, but I'm not the purpose. My purpose isn't to be a DJ for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm passionate about something, but my purpose is the reason why I'm doing that for a bigger cause down the road. And that's what I want people to see of me. So oftentimes I get frustrated because a lot of people like they don't even know my real name no more because it's just DJ Rico Vela to them, which is cool. It's cool because I mean clearly you know my brand. You feel me? You know who I am. You know what I'm saying, to the public, which is fine. But it's just like y'all don't know who I was. You know what I'm saying, before I stepped into that realm and like the things I did before that.
Yeah, DJ Rico Vela.
Dre Sean.
I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna take a moment to interject.
Kanye.
I'm gonna take a moment to interject with this. So one thing about me and Dre Sean, we've actually known each other since. And it's so the first day of freshman year, me and Dre Sean known each other.
Facts.
Dre Sean didn't even come in like that. Dre Sean came in. I remember this. Dre Sean. I remember he wanted to be class president. He wanted to be the SGA. He came in.
No, do you remember how we met?
He came in with the suit. He came in with all of that. And then I remember one day we lived in LLC. We walking down. I'm walking down the stairs. I hear this music blasting from the room. I'm like, who is playing this music? And it was scratchy. It was like, I was like, what is going on? And I'm walking past the room and I knock on his door. I said, bro, what are you doing? He said, I want a DJ. Man, like, he was legit like, I want a DJ. Hour and a half, 2 hours, just mixing songs, thinking what song you should play after this one. It was old school throwback R&B classics. And then, like 2 weeks later, I'm in a meeting or something like that. And they're like, oh, we need a DJ for this event. And I texted Dre Sean in the meeting. I said, bro, you want to DJ an event at Morehouse? And he was like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, Rico Valley. So that's just testament to his work ethic and his drive when he was Dre, because he still is Dre Sean. But when he was just Dre Sean,
Definitely.
When he was just Dre Sean,
Right.
We already knew like something was gonna pop off with dude.
Right.
And he made it his own. So my fault. I had to just let people know.
Right.
The story behind